listening to Over the Oxer podcast with Tracy Cole for all things to do with the mind for equestrians. So this week, I'm really thrilled to welcome a fabulous lady who has evented to a very high level, both here and in Canada. She's been mentored by some luminaries like Bruce Davidson, Martha Griggs, who's a Canadian Olympian, and the fantastic and fabulous Lucinda Green. So welcome, Diana Burgess. Lovely to see you.
Thank you for having me, Tracy. That introduction made me laugh.
No, I mean, it's all true, isn't it? It's not embellished whatsoever. So, but your journey didn't start in the UK. We can hear from your accent. You've still got that little twinge of the Canadian. So tell us then about your journey to where you are now. How did you get to where you are?
Oh, gosh. Well, it all started so my father was into trotters and pacers, and he had some heavier horses that pulled carts as well. So he was the horsey influence, and I was born in November, and he gave me my first pony for Christmas. So I've always had a pony. I can't imagine life without having horses in it. My mum said that before I could talk, I could scream to be put on the pony. And it was where I was happiest. So she used to just put me on the pony and lead me around. And that was my pram. And then growing up, we always had horses. Unfortunately, my father died when I was very young, but my mum kept up with the horses and they really supported me. My mum, my stepfather. I went through everything. I tried everything. We did all sorts of things, bareback mainly, because it was too much of a faff to put a saddle on half the time, or I didn't have anyone to girth it up, so it would never be tight. So we just did bareback. And we did everything from playing circus ponies to being barrel racers and puissant show jumpers. My poor pony. Tolerant. They were very tolerant. And then I sort of grew into horses, and my cousins rode as well. So I had a cousin that was very good at the North American hunter circuit, which is very different to the English hunter circuit. And my other cousin was a little bit into eventing. And I went with both of them and decided I really liked the eventing thing. Managed to find a little cob that had a lot of issues and failed the vetting, but meant that I could afford him and just played around with him. I had a really good dressage coach at that point, and she would sort of help me with the jumping as well. And so he just, we worked together so hard that eventually he won provincial championships and stuff. So that was great. So it made my parents realize that I really was keen. And when I had applied to uni and everything, I said to them, "Can I have a gap year?" And they were like, "Absolutely not." And I said, "Can I have a gap year if I do a college course in my gap year?" So at that point, Humber College had a course to get your qualifications as a coach. So a level 1 British Equestrian Federation coach. But there were 10 places and over 300 applicants. So I applied and I got in.
Wow.
And then I said to my parents, "Oh, Jake, the cob probably isn't the best horse for this." So we managed to find my young rider horse and took him. That was a steep learning curve too, to ride a proper horse and not a cob and be away from home and totally immersed in the horses as sort of an industry rather than just me playing in the backyard.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was fantastic. I loved every minute of it. From, the feed room was open at 6:30 in the morning for 10 minutes. If you didn't get your feed out then, your horse didn't get fed.
Oh, wow. That makes you very organized and very, into schedules and routines, doesn't it?
Yes. And the college accommodation was a good 45, 50 minutes away on the bus.
Oh,
So
God.
I was catching the bus at like 4:45 in the morning. It was unreal, but it was really good. It was really good. And then because we were in the coaching course, we were expected to teach in the riding school in the evenings. So sometimes I would teach until 9:30 at night and then have to take the bus home and then, so,
Yeah.
but it was really good. I loved it, every minute of it. And from there, I got a really good horsey job, which wasn't the plan, but I knew I didn't want to go back to uni.
Oh dear. Oh dear. How were the parents when you said you weren't going back to uni?
They were really supportive.
Yeah.
They knew that it was my passion, and they were like, if this is what you really want to do. And I was lucky in that when I finished college, I had two jobs. One was to be assistant head instructor in a riding school in near Ottawa, where my mum lived. And the other was to be what they call a barn manager, a yard manager for an owner of a very big equestrian complex in Toronto. And I went, you know what? I'd rather be a little fish in a big sea than a big fish in a little sea.
Yeah.
So I stayed in Toronto, and that gave me so many opportunities. This equestrian complex was so vast. So they had a riding school with about 40 school horses, its own indoor school, outdoor school, the whole lot. It was a separate entity on the farm. They also had a livery complex of the livery barn held 98 horses
Wow.
and had two indoor schools and about four outdoor schools. And then there were small barns dotted around the yard for like the owner's horses. The owner's daughter and her husband had dressage horses, and that's who I worked for. And then they had, they used to base the equestrian teams there for training and stuff. So it was just amazing to learn from all these things and watch all of these things. And, international coaches coming for clinics, and they encouraged me a lot. They let me run my own shows. I had my own clients, and they were just so supportive and so amazing. So that's when I went down the young rider route and got on the Ontario team for the North American Young Riders Championships. And that year, the championships was in Massachusetts. So went down and did that. And that was another eye opener, but really fun. And from there, I met Mary. Goodness, now my names are going. Anyway, she was an owner for Bruce Davidson.
Right. Yeah.
And she said, you know what? You need to be a working student for Bruce. So I talked to my boss and said, this opportunity's come up. And he went, go for it. And he actually went with me down to the States for the interview because I was looking at a horse at that point in time as well.
Yeah.
So I knew I was moving on, but they also, being such amazing people, they said, oh, well, we're going horse shopping in Holland and Germany this autumn. Would you like to come? Because Gary had been shortlisted for the Seoul Olympics and I was supposed to go as groom. And then his horse had an injury and couldn't go. So this was my alternative Olympics. And when I phoned home from Holland and said to my mum, I've fallen in love, she was like, what color? How big? How old? She knew it wasn't a man. She knew it. And that's how I got Compact, who was my advanced horse. He was a 4-year-old chestnut, Dutch warm blood, 16 hands. When I first tried him, he was green as grass, could go walk, trot, canter, and jump. Amazing movement, amazing ability. Always had a placing pole or would leave from like 3 strides away.
Brilliant.
I think my first dressage test, it was a challenge just to stay in the arena.
Yeah. 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 Not jump the whiteboards.
not jump the whiteboards, actually turn at the end because our steering wasn't very good. I don't think he went on the bit probably for the first, I don't know, 6-8 months. But that winter I took him to Bruce's and I started as a working student there. And yeah, that was an eye opener again, but really, really amazing opportunity. He tried to talk me into selling Compact because Compact was quite tricky. And he was like, oh, this horse is a pain. And Bruce said, I'll ride him. So he got on him and he was around his neck in the first 10 minutes.
Did you try not to laugh?
Yeah. But he tried to dominate him and you couldn't dominate the horse. That was fine. So then he decided to show me that the horse probably didn't have the ability to do what I wanted to do. So I jumped with him in the indoor school one day and he kept putting them up and putting them up and putting them up. I just kept coming around going, I'm just going to kick and pray. And Compact had such ability. I had none. He had it all. And he just jumped the tops of the wings. And Bruce looked at me and went, okay, it's not for sale. So it was, it was lovely. It was, horses, they are such a huge challenge, but just from there, I went back to Canada and I got the job with Martha Briggs, who is a Canadian 3-day eventer. And so I went back to Canada and trained with Martha and was head girl in the yard. And we got Compact up to intermediate level. He won so much for me. He was such a good boy. And I didn't have a clue, but he was just amazing. And from there, I got him up to intermediate, ready to go advanced. But in Canada, at that point, there were only 2 advanced level events in the country per year. One on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, sort of.
Yeah.
So I knew I had to relocate. And at that point, Lucinda Green was coming over and doing clinics, cross-country clinics. So I'd have clinics with Lucinda and I went, if I really want to do it, I'm either going to relocate to the States, and I thought I would only ever go back to Bruce, or where's eventing? It's England, isn't it? It is the center of the world, center of the universe for eventing. So I sat down and wrote a whole pile of letters to everyone, every famous eventer I could find in England, and applied, and probably only got like 3 or 4 replies back.
Oh.
So
you got replies. I
got replies. And I narrowed it down to, I've done a bit of research and thought, no, I'm in the South. I don't want to be in the North. That the majority of the events are further south. So I want to be in the South. And I narrowed it down to Lucinda or Robert Lemure at that point, who was riding for Canada. So my parents said, well, let's go and see what it's all about. So I came to my first in 92 when it was horrifically wet. I don't think I'd ever been so wet and cold, even Canada. And decided that I wanted to go with Lucinda because I would have a bit more independence in her yard. And being a cocky 20-something, thought that's what I wanted. And it was, that's how I ended out in England.
Wow.
All those years ago. Brought my horse.
And did you bring Compact with you? Was he your horse?
I brought Compact with me. Yes, I brought Compact with me. So the 2 of us sort of arrived at Heathrow. My stepfather was amazing and arranged for me to have a truck and a trailer, and the man to pick me up at Heathrow and drop me at Lucinda's. Then I had to learn how to drive on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, that's a bit of a trial by fire, isn't it?
Oh, no. I think I had a bike too. I don't think I even got in the car for like 2 weeks. I was just too terrified.
Yeah.
it was a huge culture shock, huge. But the truth be known, as soon as I landed, I was like, I'm never going back.
Oh, wow.
I
So
just love it.
this is your kind of spiritual or horsey home.
I think it is. I think it is. I knew when I landed, I was just like, oh, you know, it was like being a kid in a candy shop.
Mm.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that there were, you know, you could go dressage, show jumping, eventing, cross country, hunting, team chasing, all of that within a few hours of where you lived.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you didn't have to drive hours and hours and days and stay over. And it was just amazing. And, you know, the opportunities over here are just phenomenal. And the number of amazing people, amazing horse people that live here. And they're all so close. It's just,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I can appreciate that from Canada, from the kind of distances that you were used to. It must have seemed that everything was on your doorstep.
It, it was great. It
Yeah.
actually makes it, it has made me lazy about driving too far to shows.
Yeah. 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 20 miles? Oh no.
Now I go, oh yeah, I don't go more than about 2 hours unless
Yeah.
it's special.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas before I couldn't go anywhere in 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. So you came to do eventing, but you did all sorts as well. Because I saw on Facebook that you did point to point as well. Just was that just for fun, or were you getting
Yeah.
seriously into it?
And no, so I had a really lovely thoroughbred mare that I didn't know what she was. So many things I've done. I have a clue at the time what I was doing, but I was like, oh well, we'll give it a go. And I bought this mare. She was good fitting, and she did. She did really well, but she got to intermediate level, and that was sort of her plateau. And I went, I've got a full thoroughbred horse. I want to give this point to pointing thing a go. I want to try that. You know, I had done long format 3 days, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she had done long format 3 days. And I knew that the steeplechase, I had to hold her back
Yeah.
so that I didn't make like a minute under time. And I was like, okay, well, I've been to a point to point. It looks very exciting. And I really would like to ride in one of those. So I thought, okay, there was a trainer next door that sort of talked me through a few things. And I was like, well, I can get her fit. I know how to get a horse fit. He thought I was crazy because I would go off on Salisbury Plain galloping and stuff. And he only galloped his on gallops, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and that was crazy riding off across Salisbury Plain. And I was like, no, this is fine. And so we entered her in a point to point. I was like, I think she needs to learn how to do it before I learn how to do it. You know, I'd
Yeah.
like want us to know what we're doing. So I got a jockey, and he he just she was amazing. So her first race, the neighboring trainer had found me a guy to ride her, and unbeknownst to me, he told the jockey to pull her up on the second lap. And I was like, what's that all about? He said she would have been fine. He said, oh no, it's better for the odds. That's not my that's not my goal. You know, my goal is to be able to ride her. But then the next race, I got Jamie Snowden to ride her, who was fabulous. And he was so impressed because he was like, it's nice to get asked to ride a horse that can jump. He said,
Yeah.
sometimes you go down to the first fence, you don't know what you sat on will actually leave the floor.
Oh, wow.
I know these jockeys are amazingly brave,
Yeah.
so much braver than me. Anyway, her second race, she won by 20 lengths, and he was
Wow.
struggling to pull her up at the end.
She went round again.
Yeah, she was just like, this is great. I love this. And I had her fit enough. So that was, you know, that was my job. Unfortunately, after that, she had a horrific accident that was not with me and totally out of my control, and I lost her. So I never actually got to ride her in a point to point. But I enjoyed it so much and the process so much that I bought another little thoroughbred mare. And I didn't actually get to ride her either. But that's another story. And then I found out I was pregnant with Ben. So I had 3 horses at that point, 2 little eventers and the point to pointer. And I was like, "Oh, they're not going to sit in a field while I'm pregnant." And so I decided that I would sell them all, put them all on the market. And, my husband was great. He said, "You don't have to sell the horses." And I was like, "Yeah, but it won't suit them to sit in the field." So I decided how much I wanted for them, doubled it,
Mm.
and advertised them, and sold 2 out of 3.
Oh, wow. Well done, you.
Yeah, I was a bit shocked. And the point mare, I can remember the guy wanted to see her work up the gallops beside something else. So I did. And at that point, I think I was 6, maybe 7 months pregnant. And I'm galloping, we're warming up and then galloping with this jockey lad. And he said, "Why are you selling her? She's lovely. Why are you selling her?" I said, "Because I'm pregnant." And he's like, "Oh my God. Oh my God." I'm like, "No, I'm not terminally ill. I'm just pregnant. You know, it'll be fine." He's like, should I hang back? Should I? He was worried he was going to make me fall off. I said, "Don't worry,
Yeah.
I won't."
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Wow.
it's for riders, being pregnant is different for every person, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people do it right up until they're huge. And I think I found at about 7 months, it was really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so I stopped riding then, but I only rode my horses. I didn't ride
Yeah.
anyone else's. And I was sure I was safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
So, I mean, you're very kind of self-effacing about your abilities because you did ride at 4-star, Blenheim and Bramham and all that kind of stuff. And you were long listed for the Canadian Olympic team. You must be quite a brave rider. Would you say so? I mean, and point to pointing. I mean, to just think about it, even if you didn't do it, as a regular normal thing that you would, you were trying to get into from eventing, but to even think about it, you must be quite brave on a horse.
I don't know if I'm brave or I don't know. I trust my horses.
Yeah.
I trust my horses and I love my horses. And some people probably would think I'm a bit too, I don't know, health and safety micromanage. Yeah, I am brave, but I also am sensible.
Yeah.
I like to feel prepared. It depends on what horse I'm sat on too, if I'm brave.
Mm. Yeah.
And I think when I was younger, the confidence of youth, isn't it? It's like, well, of course it'll jump that.
Yeah.
And you just go, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like to think I'm an optimistic person. And I prefer to think there are a million reasons why I can do something instead of the one reason why I cannot.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And you trained as well as a Centre 10 coach, which if people don't know, that's sports psychology. So was that to overcome something for yourself or was that to add to your toolbox for coaching in riding?
I think it was both. I've always been really interested in the mental side of riding. I think that it is a huge proportion. And I know everyone thinks that it's a different percentage, but I think it's probably, for me, it's 80% mental, 20% skill. And I think my mental skills probably held me back more than anything. So yeah, I felt like I really wanted to help people with that. And I wanted to help myself with that and understand it more. And I find it fascinating. I really find it fascinating.
Yeah.
And that the mind body link is just incredible. And I feel like I did the Centre 10. I loved it. And I worked with Sarah Huntley before I did Centre 10. I'd already had Centre 10 on my radar from when they first started up. I was like, that is something I would love to do. And at that point I was like, oh, it's just so much money to invest in myself. And working with Sarah, she made me realize that, investing in myself benefits everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so I bit the bullet and did it and loved it. And it's an amazing community of people as well.
Yeah.
Uh, I think we all do it for the same reason. And it's so diverse. There are so many different coaches, and we all have our strengths, and we all draw on each other to help from our weaknesses. So I think it's a great community, and it really has transformed me from what I think of as an instructor to more of a coach.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you use it unmounted as well, or do you tend to use it? You do.
I do both. I do
Yeah.
both. And so the last few years, I've opened up so that I do a block booking
Yeah.
where people pay for a certain amount of lessons, but that includes unmounted sessions as well. And I think that's been really beneficial. And I like to work with my regular students off horse just to discuss things like confidence issues, self belief, and working on season reflection and goal setting and all of that. And it's just, I think it's helped them as well.
Oh, I imagine so. Yeah. Yeah. And that's quite unusual, isn't it, these days, that you do get instructors and coaches who qualified in mindset and they use it during the lesson, but they don't necessarily have the unmounted sessions where you don't have to think so quickly because you've not got a horse underneath you. You can have that time to reflect. You can have that time to just process and think about your goals and think about, is it confidence? Is it self-doubt? What is it that's holding you back? And so
Yeah.
I like that approach. What would you say then has changed most about using the sports psychology and the mindset with your coaching students?
Oh, that's a hard question, isn't it?
Oh, sorry. I didn't
You
mean to
know,
give you a
no,
curveball.
no, that's fine. No, I love it. I think it's shown me that I can have greater impact with my students.
Hmm.
I've always been a coach where I try and give them everything.
Yeah.
And I've realized that if I can just draw back a little bit and concentrate on the real issue,
Yeah.
make a better impact. And you saying, coaches use it on horse. I definitely use it on horse. I love the off horse because then I can ask them the really difficult questions. I never feel like I can ask them that on horse. And
Yeah. Yeah.
then they have sort of bigger light bulb moments, don't they? They
Mm,
go, I never thought of that. Yeah, that is a thing.
yeah. Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
a question you can ask them when they're on their horse because
No.
horses are such mirrors of riders. And if you make the rider uncomfortable, therefore you make the horse uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Definitely.
I don't like to do that on horse.
No, 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 definitely not. So just before we started recording, you were telling me that you've set up all your coaching sessions and all your dates, your clinics and everything for the new year. Now, one of them that really intrigued me was the beach ride, the beach retreat one. Tell
Oh
me about
gosh,
that because that sounds fabulous.
the beach retreat. Oh my goodness. So the beach retreat came about when Ben turned 18. I never thought I'd have a boy that rides. And
Yeah.
his whole life going, you don't have to ride. And he kept saying, yes, I want to ride. So for his 18th, I said, what would you like for your 18th? He'd say, oh yeah, a big party with all my friends or to go here, go there, whatever. He said, I want to take the horses to the beach for a few days. And I went, awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that too. So my best friend found a place. She lives in Wales. She found a place in the Gower that we could rent cottage, take our horses, and ride on the beach. This place was so magical and so phenomenal, and just riding on that beach was just so special. And we arranged for Ben's 18th to have a photographer, Simon Reese, who's from the area, And the photos that he did of us were just magical, so it was really fitting for an 18th birthday. And my favorite photo from that week was we booked for 2 days, 3 days, 3 days, I think. At the end of day 2, I rang them up and said, can we stay longer?
Oh, wow. It must have been something.
But my favorite photo is Ben and I decided that we would have a photo of the pair of us on our 2 horses galloping bareback down the beach.
Oh, wow.
So we stripped off the saddles and off we went galloping down the beach bareback. And I have the photo to prove it. And it's just such a wonderful memory.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I was in the midst of all my Center 10 stuff, and I was listening to a podcast that Charlie Unwin had done, talking about meaningful conversations and how he found the most meaningful conversations happened during activities. So when he was he did a hiking trip with some businessmen, I think, and he said it was just amazing because they were focusing on the hiking and the difficult terrain. It broke down barriers and they had much more meaningful conversations. And I thought that's so true with riding. If you're going out for a hack with your friends,
Yeah.
so much more comes out, doesn't it? Just opens up and and I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if I could have a group of ladies on their horses hacking? The cottages that we stay in are in 1,700 acres of woodland. So there's woodland hacking. The beach, when the tide is out, there's about 3 miles of beach. I said, wouldn't that be amazing? And every year I give myself a word for the year. And that year, my word was brave. And I thought, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to try and do a beach retreat. And that's how it came to be. And it's just been fantastic. It's been really, really special. And everyone that's come, the horses have been amazing. We've had everything from, 14-hand ponies, 5-year-old Arabs, Frisians, just everything in between, people that do dressage, people that just hack, people that, hunt, all sorts. We've had all sorts of people from different backgrounds. And the vibe for the whole week is just so special, and it is a retreat. And I keep trying to stress that to people. It's not about, competing with each other, or it's a retreat. We're here to enjoy our horses. Luckily, my best friend is a very good cook. We have lovely, lovely food. We sit around and have great conversations at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we play ponies in between. We also, another Center 10 friend comes with me, and we do mindset sessions as well for anyone that wants in the evening. And it just becomes conversation really more than a mindset session.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it
And
sounds
it's just
idyllic.
so special. And Simon comes back every year and we do a photo shoot for everyone on the beach.
But you are allowed to have saddles, I presume.
You are allowed to have whatever you want. And we go down and, we lead up to the photo shoots usually in the middle of the week. So we prepare for it.
Yeah.
Simon's like, oh, I love those, scare. I'm like, no. I don't want any wild photos of people falling off, so we go down, we settle all the horses. I've had lots of ladies that have gone, oh, I'm not going to gallop on the beach. My horse will do this X, Y, and Z. The horses just love it. They go, this is my herd.
Yeah.
And keep it really quiet. We introduce them slowly. We get everyone in the sea. No swimming, by the way, just belly deep in the sea. I don't want to have to, go and get someone that's going out. So, and then, it's up to people what they want from their photo shoot. And I just think it's a nice bit of memory to have the photo shoot of it. Yeah, it is brilliant. It's really good. I don't know. I love doing it. It's it's hard work and I'm totally exhausted at the end of it, but it's really fulfilling.
Yeah.
And it's just, I call it the bucket list beach retreat because
Yeah.
it's bucket list stuff.
And when does it happen next year? Which month is it?
So this is happening in June, end of June. I think it's the 23rd to the 27th. That I don't have the booking up for that yet. I'm not that organized.
Okay. But people can just put it in their diary and just, make sure that they remember it and look it up when it's on the website. That's fabulous. Yeah. So what's happening for you next year? Any goals, any resolutions, anything special?
So, like I said, I have a word for every year, and I've already decided my word for next year is prioritize. I don't know what that means yet, but I'm sure it'll come to me. I've been really, really fortunate to be asked to be a coach for Lucinda's academy. So the Lucinda Green Country Academy.
Oh, well done you. Congratulations. That'll be fabulous.
I just love it. I love it. I'm still working with Claire from Rider's Eyes, who I adore. And she is very much an important part of my riding because she keeps me fit and well and riding confidently. So hopefully a few more coaching trips to Ireland for the academy.
Yeah.
But camps, I teach for the Army equitation as well.
You know that. Oh, you're going to have to come back on the podcast and tell us all about that.
Pony club camps. Yeah. 2025 is looking really busy. And I've got to fit my own horse.
Yeah. That's nice though, isn't it? It's nice when you think, it's just jam-packed and it's horses.
It is. I'm a bit sad. That's all my life is horses. But I can't think of anything better.
No, neither can I. Diana, where can we find you on the internet and on socials?
Okay, so the social media thing I'm trying to be better about. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Diana Burgess Equestrian. My website is dianaburgessequestrian.com. And I think that's where you find me.
Brilliant. I'll put all your details down in the description box for everybody. Thank you so much for telling us about your equestrian journey and that fabulous beach trip. Thank you.